welcome back to the channel. Today is a very windy day in Canada. Today I wanted to talk about my 3 years of experience in Canada. Yes, it's been 3 years since I've been in Canada as of today. So today I just wanted to talk about like the important things that you would consider when traveling to Canada and just being in a new country. Important things like cost of living, the minimum wage, health care, and just understand what exactly it's like being here in Canada. So first I want to talk about cost of living. So as it relates to cost of living, if you want to live a normal life where you want to be able to pay your rent, pay for food, transportation and things like that, I truly believe you can do that. If you want to pay your tuition and pay for your full expenses in Canada, I also believe you can do that. It does become a lot more tricky as it's not that easy, mostly because it involves a lot more variables, because you need to be making a lot more money and you're also doing school, so you have to be managing your time, you have to be able to manage your money because you may be earning but you end up spending majority of the money. So things like that makes it a bit more difficult. It's not that simple, which is why I was able to do an entire 25-minute video just speaking about how you would be able to pay your own tuition. So that's there available for you, so that's something that you can watch. But as I said, if you want to live a regular life, if you want to be able to buy a car, rent an apartment and all of that, you can afford that on minimum wage. That's more than possible. You can do that. As it relates to long term and like lifestyle creep, that's when it becomes a bit more technical. So first let me talk about what lifestyle creep is. So lifestyle creep is where the more money you earn, it's the more expenses you incur. So that includes when you first come to Canada, maybe you rent a small apartment that can barely fit anything in, and then over time as you make more money, then you begin to spend more. Or as you've been in Canada for more years and for a longer period of time, you want to upgrade, you want to get a better apartment, you want to get a better car. Maybe when you first came to Canada you bought just a regular sedan car, but now you want to get like an SUV. So that's how lifestyle creep comes in, where you're spending more and you're also earning more. So that's when it becomes more technical in terms of making enough money. The next thing that you have to consider is inflation. So because of inflation, and that is something that is affecting the entire world, as it relates to inflation, that really causes expenses to rise a lot, where you have your food bill doubles in like a small period of time or over a couple months. So things like that as it relates to inflation, you never know what might happen. COVID happened, COVID-19 came, persons lost their job for a period of time, things like that happens, and that's when things becomes a bit more difficult. But generally speaking, you can earn minimum wage and you can live a normal life. I'm really happy for something like that, because that's not something that I experienced in my home country, where if I was making minimum wage, it wouldn't work. It would not work because minimum wage is not enough to cover basic expenses. An apartment, for example, would be like 50,000 Jamaican dollars, but the minimum wage is 28,000. So you see how it wouldn't work at all. So that's one of the biggest things that makes Canada really worth it, where the money that you make as just minimum wage can really make you live an okay life. Let me talk about healthcare. So as it relates to healthcare, you get free healthcare. If you want to go to the doctor, it's free. If you want to go to the dentist, most of it is free. There is a little cost, like you have to pay $6 here, $7 here. But if you're going in for cleaning every 6 months, you do a couple fillings, it's free. So it's good. And then you have prescription that is covered, but that's more the part of the insurance that would cover that, like student insurance would help you with covering that, or you can just pay insurance on your own. It's worth it. Like it's probably like about $60 per month that you would spend on insurance, but it would be worth it long term if you have a lot of medical bills. If you are getting prescriptions every single month and you're just frequently going to the doctor, going to the dentist, doing all these things, then insurance would work for you. But generally speaking, the health care that is provided can cover most of the needs that you would require, like just going to the doctor in general. Employment insurance. So what is employment insurance? So in Canada, they actually have insurance where if an employee lost their job accidentally, it wasn't their fault at all, then Canada would actually give you 55% of your pay until you find another job. Like things like that is why I'm making this sacrifice to move to a different country. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is immigration. So right now, one of the big things that everyone knows about immigration is the backlog. So in terms of that, many students still get their study permit in time. So they are processing application in real time still. Even though there is a backlog, they are still processing applications in real time. If you are thinking about like your student visa not being processed in time, don't worry about that. Apply. If it gets delayed, you'll get deferrals. Like schools are very understanding as it relates to immigration because they know what it's like. They know that it takes a lot when it comes to immigration. So schools are very understanding. The next thing is like the 20-hour temporary restriction that was lifted for international students. Just to clarify, that is just for students who are currently in Canada and students who applied for their study permit somewhere in October and before then would be qualified for that. Anyone that is applying for a study permit, no, the 20-hour rule still applies to you. So leave your comments. I would be happy to talk more about anything that you are concerned about and anything that you would like clarity on. If you want to buy a car, you can purchase a car if you feel as if it's very necessary and if you can afford it. It all depends on where you are at and what your situation is. If you don't have any expense and your family pay everything, you have a dad that covers your entire tuition, covers your cost of living, you don't have to pay anything, then there's nothing stopping you from buying the car. But if you want to pay tuition, you want to pay your rent, you want to pay for food, then it's just not going to fit in that budget because it's already difficult to be able to pay a tuition and pay for cost of living in general. So adding to that just becomes difficult. Buying a car is not that expensive. 3,000 Canadian dollars can give you a good enough car, and 3,000 is something you can make within 1.5 months on minimum wage. So if you want to dedicate 1.5 months of the money you earn on buying a car, you can. After that, you have to pay though. You have to pay for like gas. Gas is the first thing. You have to pay for like winter tires when winter comes, and then you have general servicing, you have maintenance, stuff like that. Transportation, let me speak more about it. So I spoke about the private part of it as it relates to you being a full-time student. Next thing is that you get a student ID. That student ID allows you to go on public transportation, like taking the bus, and you simply just show your ID and you get in the bus free of cost. You get to ride as much as you want throughout the month, throughout the semester, throughout the year, without paying any money to the bus. I've been here for 3 years and I've never paid bus fare. I think in some provinces you get a bus pass that allows you to ride on the bus, but it's relatively cheap. It's $2 per ride. The bus isn't going to be an issue. Having your own car is where it becomes expensive, and in Canada they make having a car cost effective, but with the gas price going up, again inflation, it makes things very difficult. I want to touch on the topic of loneliness because I know many students come to Canada, and you come to Canada by yourself. Most students come here for 4 years. Many students come here and do postgrad. They just do 2 years or 1 year, which is perfect for them. But in general, when it comes to loneliness, it's important to be able to manage it because many people come here and they are homesick. They are lonely, and it's a real thing. And It's easy to think about the good things and talk about the good things that is happening, and it's hard to speak about the difficult portions of what is really happening. No, it's how you manage it that makes the difference. If you are going to dwell on that loneliness, it's going to overwhelm you, and it's going to become something where you really need to go back to your home country. Your life is just going to be a lot more difficult if you don't manage loneliness, pretty much. The first thing you need to do is to plan before even coming to Canada. That's like the first thing, is to plan up for it, so know that that will happen. So if you're coming to Canada and you're just doing school, then you get a lot of free time, and it's about what you do with that free time. And that's where the loneliness comes in. If after class you do absolutely nothing, find things that you enjoy back in your home country, and incorporate those. And if it's something that is just not in Canada, think of something else. So fun things that you can think about is things like going to the gym, cooking, job opportunities. Jobs are easy to get. That's like more of a myth, because persons say it's easy to get a job in Canada. It's like, oh yeah, you just walk in the store and you get a job. Yes, that is true, but that's only for minimum wage jobs. Like, that does not count for like professional jobs. Like, it's not that easy to get the job. Job like office administration, it would be one of the jobs that are really hard to get. But some jobs are easy to get. Not every single job is easy to get, and it becomes difficult when you're competing against like Canadian citizens. So just keep that into consideration. Jobs are a lot harder to get if you're a student. So if you're coming here and you want a job now, and you're looking, oh, there are a lot of job opportunities available, it's going to be hard for you to get a job. Like, if you're a plumber, you come here as a student, you want to get a job in plumbing, you're lucky if you actually get that. So we're finishing off with school. The main thing, the main reason why you come to Canada is for school, and I leave it for last. When you come to school, it's not just school. You have everything else to think about. You have transportation, cost of living, immigration. You have all these things that you're thinking about. And most of the persons who watch my channel is interested in actually staying in Canada long term as well. School is a lot of work. Sometimes it can be hard, but sometimes it's just a lot of work. It's not necessarily hard. It's just a lot of assignment. Like, in a day, I'd have probably 2 classes, and when I leave after those 2 classes, I have 6 new assignments. 6 after 2 classes. What I call assignment would be, if you tell me that I need to read a chapter of 36 pages, that's one assignment to itself. If you tell me that I need to do a quiz, that's a second assignment to itself. And if you tell me that I have a discussion, that's a third assignment to do, and you get all of that and it's due in 1 week. That's just 1 class. You have 3 more classes, or 4 more classes, or 2 more classes if you're lucky. If you do 5 courses and you get 3 assignments per class, do the maths. So it's a lot of work in that regards. One more thing I want to say to you is, if you are coming to Canada and your real intent is not that you actually want to go to school, and all you actually want to do is to immigrate to Canada, but you choose to come to Canada as a student to eventually immigrate to Canada, school becomes a lot more stressful. Many students drop out of school because they come to Canada to immigrate. They end up choosing to work and just not going to school anymore. They drop out of school, but they're working, making a lot of money. But you have to think about the immigration portion of all of this, and many times persons does not think about that portion. So if your real intent is not to come to school, find a different way to come to Canada. Don't come to Canada as a student if you don't actually want to be a student, because it's going to be rough. Okay, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for listening. My reflection is just me thinking about the different things that I've learned while being in Canada, and just based on observation, based on research, based on my experiences, what have been happening is how I've been able to put together my videos. And if you have any questions at all, leave them in the comment section because I will be reading them. And if you're not subscribed, press the subscribe button, subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.